Welcome back to Let's Play Battlefield 1942, and it probably goes without saying at this point that this is another bonus episode. Today we're on the Battle of Kursk, and I'm playing, of course, as an engineer for this round. Now this is kind of a dual nature map. There are two flags and a very short space between them, so there's a lot of close quarter combat, a lot of medic and assault action that you would expect as people battle between the 2 points. So there's not a whole lot of room for an engineer, except if you have a no friendly fire server where you can put landmines just everywhere. However, that just goes for offense. On defense, there's a lot of opportunities for the engineer, particularly at the western flag. I'm just going to get out and make sure this gets capped before I move on. The 2 artillery pieces spawned with this flag. But at any rate, the flag that I'm headed to now has probably the smallest and most awkward capture radius of any flag on this entire game. So you can really defend that as an engineer infantry just by putting a couple of X-packs right in between these piles of lumber. It's kind of difficult to capture the flag in the tank, and that was really unfortunate. One heavy tank that spawns at a flag just spawned right in, so we're going to trade hits a little bit. Let's see if I can get one more, and that missed, so yeah. The T-34 with the orange coloring on it is the heavy version of the Russian tank. I was kind of at an awkward angle there. And although it looked like we were getting off to a pretty good start at the beginning, the Russians now have control of both of the flags, and that would be, I guess, the other heavy tank, the one that spawns at their main. So I'm really having a little bit of trouble running into these heavy tanks. Yeah, as you can see there, they have a much more powerful cannon. I really should have gone for speed and just tried to run right by it or something. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have to rely on the trees here. And, okay, that was kind of weird. It looked like the tree kind of skipped the tank weird. I'm just going to remove the landmine to make sure I don't team kill anybody. Yeah, I was sitting right up against the tree also. You know, as often happens on this map, when one team holds both of the flags, they start moving in toward the main base and try to camp it in a little bit. And I was really having trouble there with the landing the engineer rifle shots. So this round so far isn't looking so great. I'm kind of in an awkward position now because the engineer is really strong on defense, defending one of the flags. And the engineer is not so great on offense, of course, unless you steal a vehicle or get into a tank or something. I was kind of hoping, actually, that our team would hold at least one of the flags so I could defend that with X-packs. And when you do that, if you can have like one engineer as an infantry using a really good X-pack defense on one of the flags, which allows the entire rest of your team to do nothing but attack the other flag. So that can be a very strong strategy. It's always better to try to aim with the external view on the Russian artillery. I was out of rockets, it'll recharge in a few moments. But the whole X-pack defense strategy doesn't really work when you don't have anything to defend. And I think the Russian armor are probably going to... Actually, looks like our team is doing pretty well and just kind of going tit for tat with the tanks in the middle, but as long as they can kind of keep us muddled down in the center, we can't really make an advance on either of the flags, and it's really tough for the infantry over there. somehow I got bumped inside of the barn from that Jeep. I was going to leave an X-Pack just outside the barn and detonate it as the machine gunner came around. And we're down by about 40 tickets and bleeding with no end in sight. So this is going to be a nasty round, I think. Well, at least there's a Jeep over here, so I can get some wheels to at least try to do something. And when you've lost both of your flags and the team is bleeding out tickets and there's nothing else for you to do, I'm already getting fired upon by tanks in the no man's land. There's only one thing really for me to do, and that's to camp the enemies in their main base. I'm going to see if I can get over past all these tanks. Just as much as you can, stay parallel or at a weird angle to any enemy tanks that may want to fire on you, and stay at maximum speed by going in straight lines as best as you can. And just my luck, there's an APC guarding the airfield for no apparent reason. Well, I guess maybe he's trying to deal with the plane. So you can stick a landmine on the back tail fin or on the wing of the plane there, but seeing as how we've got planes already camping the airstrip, I'm not going to bother with that. And this is the thing that I have to show for Kursk. This is what makes the Kursk map really famous. All the people who spawn in at the barn and immediately get X-Packed when they spawn in. And actually, yeah, I should have put a landmine on that plane after all, since our plane didn't finish him off. There are a couple other places on the main base where they can spawn in, but primarily they seem to spawn in at this hut here. And if they don't have any flags and everyone's spawning in at this main base, then you can detonate almost their entire team very easily, over and over again. Presumably they're all mostly going to be spawning in at the flag that they have. Alright, I heard the little metallic click, so they're spawning in there. Eventually they're going to figure out what I'm doing, and right on cue. Alright, so at least we've got a... Never mind. Yeah, I think that kind of sums up this round pretty much so far. That was Katyusha, that's the Russian artillery, which was very well aimed and primed, and just launched the rockets right in as our spawn wave was coming in. Now, if we can clear out some of these infantry who are right around our capture radius, I'm just going to kind of sit back and use the rifle to take whatever shots I can, and if we can clear it out, then I can start using the X-Pack defense right over by those piles of lumber. Yeah, see, the Russians are still pushing in pretty hard from their flag, and that often happens, but if we get any breathing room, then we can set up an effective defense. Well, that, I guess, shows off the inaccuracy of the Russian assault gun. Plus, I was bunny hopping there a little bit. Alright, we're going to have to cap this flag. Stay tuned for part 2.